Am I the a-hole for cutting ties with my cousin because of his girlfriend? I, 23F, need to vent. English isn't my first language, so bear with me if things aren't perfectly written. I've been bottling this in for too long, and I need outside opinions before I make a decision that could change my relationship with someone I grew up with. So, I have a cousin. Let's call him John, 26M. John and I have always been close. Not in a best friends kind of way, but the kind of closeness you only share with family you actually like. He's quiet, respectful, and sweet, so when he introduced us to his very first girlfriend, Jill, 22F, the whole family was genuinely excited for him. At first, I was curious and hopeful. John brought Jill to a game night I hosted, along with his sister Mimi, 24F, and a few other friends and partners. He and Jill arrived late, by about an hour, and when I greeted her warmly, she didn't even look at me. I brushed it off, assuming she was just shy around new faces. Later, while we were all settled in, John and I were goofing around playfully with balloon swords in the kitchen. We've always been comfortable like that, nothing inappropriate, just cousins being silly. Suddenly, Jill tugged John away into the living room. A few moments later, they came back saying they had forgotten something in the car and left. It wasn't until Mimi's boyfriend arrived and went to meet her outside that we learned what had actually happened. Apparently, John and Jill had gotten into a fight because she thought he was being too playful with me. I was dumbfounded. I mean, I'm his cousin. The accusation felt off, weird, even a little gross. When John and Jill returned, Jill's whole demeanor had flipped. She was suddenly sweet, chatty, and engaged. I thought maybe she just needed time to adjust and warm up. So I gave her a chance. I started chatting with her more, asking about her interests. I even tried to include her in the games. One of the games we played was AITA's, kind of like Werewolf, but with creatures and legends from African folklore. Jill insisted on being the narrator, even though she had no idea how the game worked. When I tried to explain, she dismissed me with, "I'll just say the names like in Werewolf." I gently corrected her, saying the names have meaning, and it's important to respect the culture behind it. She looked me dead in the eye and said loudly, "Well, I don't speak African, so..." There was a pause. My cousins and I, all from the African continent, exchanged a look. I sighed and let it go, not wanting to ruin the night. But it stung. It was more than ignorance. It was arrogance wrapped in casual racism. They left early that night. Jill claimed she had early classes the next day. Fair enough, but it was clear she was uncomfortable, and not just with the game. Over time, these little moments started piling up. Mimi confided in me that she didn't trust Jill. Apparently, Jill still stalks her ex on Instagram and gets jealous if she sees him with other women, calling them easy for kissing someone at a party. She also made a strange comment to John's father, of all people, saying something along the lines of, "You're lucky not to be immigrants." My uncle calmly told her they were actually from the African continent. She laughed and said, "Well, John's lucky to be with me then. I'm 100% white." That's when I realized this wasn't just a rough start. This was a pattern. The second time I saw her, my boyfriend and I invited them out to lunch. The entire car ride, she didn't say a word to me. She blasted music and only spoke to John. At lunch, John pulled me aside and told me that Jill felt excluded, and I should try to make more of an effort to include her. I was floored. I had been trying. I told him I'd try again, but only if she was willing to meet me halfway. Guess what? She didn't. Third time, she straight up ignored me at my uncle's house. No greeting. No smile. Nothing. Just cold silence. Christmas Eve, I hosted a picnic and invited the family. John and Jill arrived late again and brought her mother. Not a huge deal, but it hadn't been planned. Again, Jill didn't acknowledge me. Not even a hello. I kept trying. I planned another game night in the afternoon to accommodate them. Things were going smoothly until Mimi and her boyfriend arrived. Suddenly, Jill shut down. Didn't want to play anymore. John refused to, because they don't feel like it anymore. 10 minutes later, they abruptly left, without warning. The weirdest part? John's brother later told us they openly bragged about their sex life to him, oversharing to the point of discomfort. It was awkward and unnecessary, and made everyone else feel off. And then came the Canada trip. We have family there, and John and Jill stayed with one of our cousins. That cousin later told me that Jill left her period-stained pants on the bathroom floor, was picky with food, no rice, no fruits, no vegetables, and spent the whole trip talking badly about me. She insulted me like I was a stranger, saying I was rude, cold, fake, all while staying under my cousin's roof. The worst part? John paid for everything, her clothes, jewelry, expenses. And now Jill wants them to move to Canada, claiming she found a nursing school for $10,000 a year, which John would obviously pay for. This, after she secretly dropped out of her previous nursing program and didn't tell anyone. John's parents tried talking to him, warning him about the lifestyle change. But Jill keeps pushing that Canada is their dream future. John visits his family only when he has to now. He told me recently that he feels imprisoned and unseen by his parents. And yet, he doesn't see what Jill is doing to all of us. Just yesterday, Mimi called and asked me to come over because John and Jill were visiting. She wanted to have an honest conversation with them. The moment Jill saw me, she wrote something on her phone and showed it to John. Suddenly, they had to leave to feed her mother's cats. It had apparently been 2 days. Mimi's boyfriend asked if they couldn't at least stay for a bite, and Jill brushed him off with a series of half-hearted excuses. I tried to buy time by showing John a short film we made. As soon as it ended, Jill pulled out her phone again. John stood up and said they had to leave. I invited them to my mother's birthday next month. Jill responded with, "We'll see if our schedule allows." John hasn't seen my mother in 6 years, but apparently, Jill's schedule takes priority. Then Jill rattled off all the things they had to do next week. Visiting her family, her friends, her neighbors, a baptism. I realized then, she just doesn't want to hang out with us. And John is letting it happen. I sent John a message later saying it felt like I needed to make appointments with Jill's secretary just to see him. He responded that he's doing his best, and that I should be more mature and talk to Jill. Because he's trying to include my boyfriend in things, which, by the way, he barely speaks to him. He told me I'm being cold and should be more welcoming. At that point, I nearly lost it. After everything, he wants me to be the one to extend the olive branch? We already tried talking to her, calmly and respectfully. She got angry, stormed out, and John excused it all with "she's just like that." So here I am, exhausted, hurt, watching my cousin drift further and further from the people who love him because of someone who seems determined to isolate and control him. I don't hate Jill. I honestly pity her. But I can't keep setting myself on fire to keep their relationship warm. I'm tired of being treated like a threat, like a stranger, like a burden. So, am I the a-hole if I just cut ties with John until he either wakes up or lets me go completely? I'm open to honest advice. I just don't know if this is me giving up or finally protecting my peace.